Okay, Jeff Stafford is in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
Hello, Jeff.
How are you doing, Ryan?
Well, I'm doing great, and I'm glad you're here.
Fantastic.
We're not going to drag this out like American Idol. We're not going to say like, we're going to tell you what's going on after
commercial break.
Right, exactly. But I do want to start by saying this is the last episode of the Adventure Jogger that I will be hosting.
Yep.
I am retiring as host of the Adventure Jogger. But this is not the last episode of the Adventure Jogger. The Adventure Jogger is going to continue. There is a great, it's kind of funny. And we can go through this. We got time anyway. So, but there was an idea to, okay, is it, I'm done. Is the Adventure Jogger done? And that was a possibility, but I kind of through chance, through circumstance, through conversations, there was someone that was kind of looking to get into the podcast space who I respect in the sport, and I think is just a wonderful person. And I think this person has incredible talent. And I also think that this person is going to do a fantastic job of carrying on what the Adventure Jogger has always been about. And what has the Adventure Jogger been about? It's not been about me. 2 episodes, you'll forget I even hosted the damn thing. Like, who's that guy who's the original host of the Adventure Jogger? I forgot all about him. It's always been about great stories from runners who sometimes they win races. We've great stories from, Courtney DeWalter and, Dean Karnazes and Carl Meltzer have told great stories. But it's also about giving an opportunity to runners that are in the middle of the pack or runners that are in the back of the pack to share their stories. And I've always been a strong proponent of the fact that the best stories generally come from the middle and the back of the pack. And there are some podcasts out there that do a really good job of focusing on middle and back of the pack runners. I think, 10 Junk Miles, like a Bigfoot, and there's so many of them that do a really good job. But the Adventure Jogger, I think, always kind of had a space for long form storytelling from people that you may never hear from. You may not know, and you tune into an episode and you go like, I didn't even know that person, or I didn't know this about that
They
person.
did what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have full faith in the new host of the Adventure Jogger, who will be taking over immediately. I think he's going to do a great job. And I think for telling the stories of the middle and the back of the pack and the occasional front of the pack story, I think there's no one better to do this. It is not Jeff. I'm sorry. You don't know how to work computers.
Damn.
And so the idea was there to maybe give it to Jeff, but then I realized Jeff,
I still have a shoebox full of punch cards.
He does.
IBM punch cards.
Right. And so anytime Jeff has a technical question, he calls me and I'm like, Jeff, I can't tell you how to work a rotary phone. I haven't used a rotary phone in 30 years. So the new host of the Adventure Jogger, you may know this gentleman already. I can't say enough good things about him. He is just an absolute superstar in the space. I love what he does in the video world. I think he's put out some fantastic video content. His shoe reviews are great. His Leadville video, he did a video after running Leadville last year that I think is probably one of the best Leadville video productions done. I felt like after watching this, I'm like, my God, I feel like I'm there. The reaction and to see the race fold out. And to see, where crews could be and the low points and the high points and the course and the experience, I felt like I was in Leadville. So without further ado, without further stalling, ladies and gentlemen, the brand new host of the Adventure Jogger moving forward, Steven Kornhaus, UltraTrailSteven, is taking over the jogger. What's up, man?
Get it.
What's up, Ryan and Jeff? You almost got me speechless there after that. Quite an intro. Hopefully I can live up to some of that. But I just want to say, first and foremost, the Adventure Jogger is honestly the only podcast I've ever really listened to. There's tons of other ones out there. Mm-hmm. What you've built with the Adventure Jogger, it's entertaining. You can learn some things, educational at times, but it's you and the way you tell stories and connect with people has just been amazing. And the fact that you've trusted me enough to want to pass it off to me means a lot. And really, I mean, honestly, it means a lot, Ryan. I appreciate it. And I hope I can carry the torch as well as you have. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Hopefully the viewers will hang out there with us for a while, and maybe a learning curve, but hopefully I can carry the torch.
Well, no, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to take you a while. You got to find your voice, right? And you've got to.
What's your niche? Where are you going?
Right, exactly. And you don't want to do Steven's impersonation of Ryan doing the Adventure Jogger. I want you to make it your own and to put your stamp on the podcast. And there's things that you're going to think of that I never thought of, and guests that you're going to be able to get that I could never get. And I'm just so excited to see what type of stamp you're going to put on this. Because the God honest truth was, Jeff is retired and is fixing old cars in his garage.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what a podcast is.
No.
He keeps like every time I tell Jeff, like, listen to the latest episode, he's on the radio trying to adjust the dial on a radio. And I'm like,
thing won't work.
Not like, he's like, how do
I the AM or FM?
Right, exactly. And so yeah. So, having Jeff ask me where the podcast setting was on his car radio, I'm like, okay, well, it's not
going to find it there.
Right. And honestly, Jeff, how do you get guests on the Adventure Jogger? You reach out to them on social media. Jeff thinks that social media only exists to show political memes. He has no idea that there's anything beyond that for social
There's
media.
more to life than memes?
Exactly.
What?
And so I was like, Jeff's not going to know, first of all, how to record the damn thing. And secondly, how to use social media other than to post political memes. No. And so I knew he was out right away.
Retired.
Right. Exactly. He's retired. You got time for this, right? Yeah. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, who could take this thing over? And you were the first person. You're the only person I reached out to. You were the first person I was like, okay, if Steven's in, awesome. If Steven's not in,
where are we going?
I'm just going to disappear. And it was
drift off.
Like, where the heck is he? I don't know. So.
Well, it's perfect timing because I reached out to you probably, I don't know, it's been over a month now, maybe 2 months ago. My wife and I had interest in doing a running type of podcast, more maybe on the, having two hosts at the same time, kind of like you and Jeff do. But, from a married couple perspective, my wife's a mental health counselor, or she's training to be one. And we all know the mental health world of ultra running we're all pretty crazy because we run crazy miles. Right, so it could tie in, but it just hadn't panned out, her and I having the time to do it because she's still in grad school. And so I'm still very interested in wanting to podcast, and you reached out to me, and I was kind of shocked a little bit when you reached out, and just honored, honestly, to carry it on. So I know that, one day when, Adventure Joggers hopefully up there in the top running podcast, and I'm going to reach out to Jeff to fly us so we can go out and go with Rich Roll out there.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. No, I'm excited to see where you take the darn thing, and that would be great. And I really, my God honest hope is you take it and you run with it. And seriously, people are like, who is the guy who launched the event? Who's that? Because you remember the Daily Show on Comedy Central.
Right.
Jon Stewart everyone thinks Jon Stewart when they think Daily Show, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't launch the Daily Show. He wasn't the original host of the Daily Show. It was Craig Kilborn was the original host of the Daily Show. Nobody remembers Craig Kilborn. And so I'm hoping that I turn into the Craig Kilborn of the running podcast space. We're like, remember that guy who had the weird laugh?
Well, it's going to be big shoes to fill. So I'm going to do my best to put out an entertaining podcast, interview people, like you said, from the front, middle, back of the pack. Everybody has a great story out there, and hopefully I can connect with viewers the way that you have, and the audience, and it'll be good. But yeah, you left some big shoes to fill. So I've got to put those HOAs on and try to run with it.
I just can't wait for the episodes. Like, hopefully your wife fills the role of Jeff Stafford.
Yeah.
And comes on from time to time
for sure,
just to drink.
I feel like Ed McMahon on the Johnny Carson show.
Right. Listen, honey, I just want to be on the podcast so I can have a couple of drinks, and we'll be fine, and we'll move on from there. So
just start talking.
No, totally. Yeah. Yeah. She'll be on the podcast for sure a couple of times. That's nice. People on YouTube, because, we've done some episode or some videos together on YouTube, and a lot of people have commented that they like the way that we interact and talk just naturally with each other, and thought it would be good podcast form. So maybe there's a week where I'm not able to get a guest. She'll be an awesome, I won't say fill-in because she'd be a great guest anyway, but it'd be great to have her on.
That was great because you don't want your wife saying fill in.
No, not at all.
I was just thinking about you this weekend. I was out at Frozen Head State Park doing a run out there. Did not do the challenge loop for once. I just did a very slow, easy 15 miler. And I said, I remember when I met you out at Frozen Head State Park, and
yeah, we ran a about 32 or 34 mile day together out there once. You and I. It was a 10 or 11,000 foot gain day. That was a big day.
Pretty brutal.
Do you remember what moment in that run at Frozen Head where you're like, my God, this guy knows everything, and these bird whistles? What is with these damn bird whistles?
We never got to bird whistles, unfortunately. I was hoping he might whip out like a.
You'll have to have me on for an episode so I can do a whole litany of those things.
There we go.
Well, here's the thing, because I bought you equipment so you could try and record from your computer.
Yes.
This microphone, take it with you. And then when Steven needs a guy to come on and be
all
half drunk, you're the guy who can do that. I mean, who better than you?
No.
Yeah. After you run Vol State again or HOAs
I'm doing
or
HOAs
something
next
like
summer.
that.
HOAs next summer, so that's on the list.
There we go.
Isn't that supposed to be 400 miles next year?
It's right at 400.
What?
Good Lord. Good.
That's insane.
Gonna be brutal.
Good.
Yeah, that's a lot of road.
That's why I'm out. I just don't want to. I can't do Jeff anymore, and I'm just like, I'm out. You get excited still about running 400 miles.
Yeah. I know. Whatever.
This is why you're single.
Yeah.
Because you don't have time for romance, do you?
No, the idea of running 400 is definitely intriguing. Like, I mean, there's plenty of FKTs, or not even, I'm not fast. I'll probably never be fast enough for an FKT, especially after surgeries. But just to go do like the Colorado Trail, 500 plus miles and go experience it.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, everything from Vol State to HOAs to last Third Circle of Hell, all these journey runs, all these long, now everything's trail runs are 250 miles, 350 miles.
Yeah.
Nobody runs all of that. Nobody.
No.
Does. It's impossible.
No, even the guys in first place, they're not running every mile of that.
But still, it's not cool to tell Bob from accounting at work that you walked 50% of your run. You're like, you don't want that's not what you want to bring. And yes, as the races are getting longer, I've realized all I really want to do is run 5 miles every morning in my, in Hoka's
before work,
have a cup of coffee on the deck. And
go.
so I can't compete with that anymore. So yeah, but anyway, is that the real reason? I don't know. We'll just leave it up to that. Have you made a list, Steven, of like your big, I have to talk to these people guests for the Adventure Jogger?
Yeah. So once we first started, I started putting a list together of some names of people I'd like to interview. And I've got a list of probably 40 people, maybe that I'd like to try to reach out to. And I've already got, I think 5 confirmed and scheduled people to interview starting next week. So we'll have an episode out next week. So I'm sure there'll be a learning curve in the editing and uploading, but I know, Ryan, you've been awesome enough to say you'll be there to help me out and all, which I'm super thankful for. And no, I think of my 40, there's probably only 5 that I would say are like big name, like, maybe elite people, but the rest are all just inspiring people that are, middle packer, back of the pack, front, middle, packers. And I think it'll be it's a lot of good people coming.
I'm excited because, it's funny because if you do it right, I remember someone saying to me, everyone you interview is a star. Like I want the middle and back of the pack people. And I remember seeing a person, like 60% of the people I talk to are back of the packers. But I'm like, it's because it sounds like they're a star. If you interview them a certain way, like everybody's got a great story, right? Like people are always shocked that, I'm sorry, you're going to get a better story from someone chasing cutoffs all day that just does this than you are at a Walmsley. It's just a fact. And it's not a slam on anybody. It's just, you have to find those characters that have these great stories and you share. And if you do it right, you make everybody sound like a star. Because they are.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
The best episodes of the Adventure Jogger that I've ever been a part of, I say very little because the guest has so many amazing things.
They got a lot to say.
Yeah. And so the less I'm talking, I'm like, okay, great.
Take it away.
Exactly. All yours. And so I think the star of the Adventure Jogger for the first 300 episodes has been the guests. I mean, it's been some of the guests, I mean, have inspired me, changed my life. Had me look at things a certain way or differently. You know, and some that I were expecting to be exciting, entertaining was kind of like, oh, did I not ask the right questions? Because it wasn't as big as I would have hoped it would have been. Can I, since I don't give a fuck anymore, because
he said it,
like when this is gone,
put the explicit on.
When this is released, I'm out. Like I don't care anymore. It doesn't affect my ability to get guests. There is one guest that I've been trying to get since the Adventure Jogger launched. I got so close, and then I got ghosted. Should we talk about the one guest I couldn't get on the Adventure Jogger that I really wanted to?
I know who
I've interviewed everybody that I've wanted to talk to, except one. And it's not Camille Herron. I wanted to get Camille on the Adventure Jogger. I've talked to her on my last podcast, but we just couldn't make it work for whatever reason, which is fine. I've talked to Camille, and there's lots of podcasts, and she's got a limited amount of time. I tried forever to get Timothy Olsen on the Adventure Jogger. I was close. I was so close. I had
got him on the list.
Good luck getting them. And so I remember, I always love when people tell me, "Get back to me in a little bit," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that." Because listen, you don't owe me anything. If you want me to email you back in a couple months,
but I want your story.
So I'm like, no problem. He's busy. I get it. Yeah, no problem. And then when I emailed this person back, and everybody knows who his person is, I won't say who that is, ghosted. Email me back in a couple of weeks. Emailed back in a couple of weeks. Nothing. Crickets. I will also say that I did multiple times try to get David Goggins on the Adventure Jogger. Well, David has an agent. And David's agent, for whatever reason, did not feel that a podcast with the term jogger in it
was appropriate,
would be a good fit for David Goggins.
I'm surprised he didn't try to charge you like $10,000 to come on or something.
Right. Exactly. So that was interesting. And I have a wild card on David Goggins. I'm very good friends with someone who went through Delta selection with David Goggins, someone who's mentioned in David's book, someone who has David's contact info. And I was this close to just texting him, but I'm like,
yeah.
So
it'd be a cool interview.
Yeah. Oh, and I never got Walmsley either, which is funny. I have Jim Walmsley's dad. I've talked about this in the podcast. I have Jim Walmsley's dad's phone number in my phone.
That's awesome.
Because he put it in there at Western States. I didn't ask Harry to put.
He said, "Give me your phone."
Right. He said, "Give me your phone real quick." And I gave him my phone, and he typed his number in and gave me his contact and said, "If you get any good pictures of my son, send them to me." And I'm like, "You got it." And so there was a moment when I was tempted to go, "Ooh, Harry, I know I've talked shit about your son on the podcast. I was hoping I could get his contact info. What's his cell number? What's your boy's cell number?" So that was the one. I knew I would never get Goggins. Timothy Olsen was the one that disappointed me because I really wanted to talk to him, and I had that hope, right? Because his coach was like, "He's busy right now, but email back in 2 weeks and I'll get it set up." Email back in 2 weeks.
Blah,
nothing.
Blah, blah,
I'm still waiting to hear. That was 18 months ago, and I'm still waiting.
Oh, man.
And you'll get an email tomorrow.
I will, exactly. He's got time. I'm out. So that was pretty wild.
So how many guests total do you think you've interviewed? How many episodes do you think you've done?
We've done. I've got 200, almost 300 episodes of the Adventure Jogger, and then the old podcast. There was 300 some episodes of that.
Yep.
So I think I've interviewed. I tried to do the math the other day because the old podcast would have 2 or more on.
Yeah.
And so between just the 2 podcasts and various episodes, I've probably talked to 600 or 700 runners.
Wow.
Over the years. So,
well, I know this is my, I guess, 3rd time on the podcast. I guess as a guest, we interviewed not too long ago. It's been, I think it might have actually been in this house. And then once when I was back in Tennessee, we interviewed, and after No Business. So it's been a couple of times. I was on your Christmas episode once, on this one and the old podcast once. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
If you do a Christmas episode, by the way, I may come back. If you do,
totally.
If you do, I may. It depends.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun time. It'd be awesome. And if you're ever out in Colorado Springs, definitely come into the studio. We'll do one in studio together.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've actually got a really cool idea. So I'm going to Leadville in, 2 weeks to crew. Actually, the guy who crewed me last year and helped get me into the race, Colin Morris, he's running, so I'm crewing him. But I'm going to go and I'm going to take my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with the little DJI mic 2. I'm going to try to walk around and interview different crews throughout the race and just get a crew perspective, like, 2 or 3 minute interviews. How's their runner doing? What are they struggling with, or what's a good tip for other crews out there, things like that, and make an episode out of that. I think that'd be really cool and something that people would like to listen to a lot, hear that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. Why didn't you?
You guys did something similar with, was it Savage Golf? I know you took Jeff's trailer out there, his camper.
Jeff's camper is always a winner. The downside that sucked, if you go back and listen to the Jeff's camper episodes, his generator is so damn loud.
Wow.
So I hear in the background. I'm like, tell me about your life story. What's going on all the time? I'm like, turn that damn thing off. One rule, since you brought up Jeff's camper, I don't know if we've shared this on the podcast. Jeff gets really weird if you poop in his trailer.
Don't you poop?
I'm like, you've got.
Isn't that kind of like an unwritten?
Hooked up.
Isn't that like an unwritten rule? Really, like you don't poop in the.
Even if we're hooked up, if they have a bathhouse, that's where you're going.
Right.
Exactly.
I remember the first time I stayed in Jeff's camper, which is really nice, by the way.
Don't poop.
It's a solid. You could live in that thing. Yeah. And I was a little worried after the divorce that you might end up living in that thing. But I remember like Jeff's like, hey, make yourselves at home, just don't poop. I'm like, what? Like that's why do you have this thing? Like, why don't you just get a tent?
Don't.
Like what is different now than a tent? And
yeah.
But I will say, there was one time, and I believe this was at Tunnel Hill. This was at Tunnel Hill.
Had an incident in there.
Yes, this is at Tunnel Hill, and Jeff was out.
This Benny Browntown.
He was out of the camper, and he was doing something.
Like,
we were crewing someone, and I'm like, fuck you, Stafford. I'm pooping in your camper. And so I remember I did that. And I don't know how long that thing's been sitting in its tank. But anyway, so that's the one rule.
Oh man.
So
I've been in my fair share of RVs, doing, different relay races or the Run for the Fallen, honoring our fallen military. And that's, you just don't poop in the RV that way you're driving it. It's just,
avoid it at all costs because inevitably it's going to back up. Everybody's going to go, what stinks in here?
Oh my gosh. So like last year, one of the people that was driving the RV had to go. And so we swapped out drivers and he went, and oh man, you couldn't get that smell out. Even with the door open, the windows open, no, you just couldn't get that out. So you don't poop in the RV.
If you've been eating like
Taco
sports
Bell.
Nutrition, like if you've been eating nothing but sports nutrition,
just bring energy gels for the last 36 hours, or something like that.
Half awesome sauce.
Not so awesome sauce as I got.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's a little insight into Jeff Stafford's camper. So if you see Jeff's camper, and it's really nice because it just says, it says old man on it. You see it and you go right away.
That's his.
Right.
Is it wood grain inside?
Right.
It's dark cherry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just go in there and leave Jeff a little surprise. He'd really appreciate it.
Jeff, I won't poop in your
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, we finally have an adventure jogger host that won't poop in Jeff's camper. So the podcast is already changing.
So what's in store for you, Ryan? What are you going to do now? With all your extra time.
All my extra time. Well, it's kind of interesting. I'm at a really interesting point in my life right now.
You're empty nesting.
Oh yeah. Because, my oldest daughter, Ava, she is starting her second year of PT school. She's going to be a doctor of physical therapy. She's got a year left she's got 2 semesters left of like in class, like they teach you how to crack backs and stuff. And then she's got a year of clinicals where she goes out to different PT clinics. And then when she's done there, she will be a doctor.
She's ready to go.
To say, hello, Dr. Pluckelman. Which, by the way, it's been so cool. I've interviewed some PTs and I've talked to them about, my daughter and stuff. And Matt Silver was one of them. It's like, dude, I will take her for a clinical. Have her come up. I will show everything.
That's awesome.
That's a long way to go, but I really appreciate that. That was really, really cool. So she has her own apartment in Nashville, which it's so surreal when you go to your child's apartment that's not yours. Yeah. That's a very surreal moment. My son, he leaves for college this Sunday. He moves it back in. Back to college. And then my youngest, Evelyn, we're taking her to college the following Thursday. So she is moving in to college the following Thursday. And here's the thing. I have been begging and wanting a kid to go to college in Chattanooga forever.
Like no one will do it.
Well, right. I've been telling like Ava, like Chattanooga would be great. And she's like, TSU, or she went to Illinois for undergrad. And my son, I'm like, well, Chattanooga would be great, right? And he's like, I like this school here. And he goes to a great school in Pulaski. But Evelyn's going to UT Chattanooga. So I finally got a kid
there you go
in Chattanooga. So a lot of great visits coming that way. So, my wife and I were at this point where now it's going to be a house that has a lot of empty bedrooms in it. And
right.
It's just you and I. It's just, her and I. So we're kind of excited about that in a way. So being able to just kind of,
you can have some quiet
travel
time
together, some quiet time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not having Jeff over drinking all my but no, and that's kind of fun. So it's kind of been a transition. And honestly, I don't want to get too into this because again, I truly believe that the Adventure Jogger is bigger than me, way bigger. It's always been about the guests, and the guests have been the stars. And if the guests sucked, people would never listen to this damn thing. How blessed am I that, I had a situation where my last podcast blew up. It was a bad situation with a co-host, and I got dragged down in some pretty substantial mud.
Some poo.
Yeah, it was a pretty crappy time, and I was ready to give it up then. I'm like, I just need to step out because, anytime you go online and people are saying things about you that you don't like, they don't know you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, people are actually talking about me online. That was the craziest. That was the most real, because listen, guys, I'm nobody. But to just go on Reddit or go online and certain message boards and people are talking about you in not a good way.
What
the
hell? You're like, Jesus. And I had nothing to do with it. I just was the guy that on the other microphone, and so I was willing to get out I was leaving on that, and people said, no, get back in. And how cool is it to have Carl Meltzer agree to be the first guest? Like, who launches
that's awesome.
podcast with the Speed Goat? And he's always been incredibly gracious to me and wonderful to me. So that was nice. But it's just, I got to a point in my life where, my fitness goals have changed. I worry a bit that I have nothing else to say. Like, have I said everything that I could possibly say about the sport? And as my running changes, my relationship with running changes, and I don't have the desire I used to have to do the really, really long stuff. I love to run, but I just like to, I like to do 5 or 10 miles. And then I like to hang out with my family.
I'm good.
It's just like, I've had that moment in my life, and I'm not saying I don't go back to that. Who knows? At some point I may want to go back to that. But right now I'm kind of in a different space. And I'm starting to, at this point, I've started to feel like, am I a bit of an outsider? If I'm not participating constantly in the sport, how can I do the best job that I could possibly do as a host?
Right.
What does my voice say when I'm starting to feel a bit like an outsider of the sport? Not because anyone's calling me an outsider. This is all, personal stuff. And so as I feel like I've interviewed everybody that I wanted to interview, minus Timothy Olson. If I get an email tomorrow, I may just say, Steven, hold on, one more.
Absolutely.
One more. Did I say I was done? I meant after this. And so it's like, it's time to pass the baton on. And so I'm so happy that you're willing to step up, and you now are the proud owner of all the Adventure Jogger property. I think I have one more key to the studios, and that'll be I'll be turning that key in shortly, and she all be yours.
I've got something I need to mail you. So
okay.
you can message
right.
me your address and I'll mail it to you.
It's a box
right,
of
yeah,
my
definitely.
poop from the
Right
camper.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's yours.
Okay, I will not give you my address. No. Don't need that, Jeff. No, that's cool. Yeah, definitely. No, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's you said I'm trying to remember. You said that the guests are the stars, and that's so there's so many inspiring stories have come out of this podcast, and people being inspired by Jackie Hunt's Boersma, with the amputations, or just so many stories. I can't recall them all, but there's so many inspiring stories that I just hope to continue that and have a lot of inspiring people on, and funny. I want the intro says inspiring and funny stories. I want to hear about the Benny Brown towels and the people that are throwing up on the side of the trail because they ate a Spring Energy gel and didn't get their full calorie intake. And
You're never gonna live that down.
No wonder I had no energy.
I know, right?
You're
Right?
never gonna live that
So.
down. No, and I think I told you the way I've approached every interview of the podcast, except my interviews with Jeff, is treating every guest like I've known them forever, like they're a dear friend, and treating them welcoming. Like it's never been a gotcha. I've never done a gotcha interview. Someone said to me after I had Annie Weiss and I were talking about the whole spring nutrition thing, right? Why didn't you have someone from Spring on? I don't want to do gotchas. I don't want to have someone on the podcast. I never wanted to have somebody on and be like, you tell me why you did this wrong. It's like I couldn't.
So you don't want to be like the news agents,
right?
Yeah,
I couldn't.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't have him on and treat him like a dear friend and ask him the questions that would need to be asked of him and still treat him like a dear friend. So that's always been my approach. I will tell you that backfires from time to time because you treat someone and you have these great interviews with someone, right? It goes well, right? Everybody's like great stories. You're like, oh my God. I'm writing on my notebook. Like, that's a great story. That's a great story. And it's funny because you think like, oh, well, we connected. I know this person. And then you see him at a race and you're like, hey, what's up? And they're like, who are you again? You're like, I'm nobody. I'm just here to get your autograph.
Right.
Well, like you always said, a tertiary running podcast, so I got to keep that going. But no, you've definitely not been tertiary. It's been good. So yeah, it'll be fun. You have the opportunity now to fulfill my wife and I's dream. We've got young kids still, and yours are out of the house. Yeah. So what you need to do, go out and get you a converted Sprinter van, and then just go drive around the country. Go to different places and camp on BLM land or National Forest land and work remote from your Sprinter van and run the trails, hike, and just enjoy time with your wife and nature. And that's my ultimate goal. That's where I want to get to one day.
Well, just think about this, but your kids are young. The way the prices are on Sprinter vans and Sprinter conversions, it's going to cost $7 billion for you to buy a Sprinter conversion by the time your kids are grown up.
Right. I need to do it now.
Yeah. I have never seen the price of anything increase so fast. Before COVID, you could buy Sprinter vans for $30,000.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were nice
you could
too.
buy Winnebago conversion Sprinters, $35,000.
Yeah,
they get some clapped out old 2008.
Yeah. Now, if you want to buy a new one, it's $150,000. And if you want to buy
at least,
and if you want to buy a beat up old piece of crap Dodge van with 770,000 miles on it, with some old wood cabinets in the back, that's still going to set you back $90,000. And you're like, what?
Right? Yeah, I mean,
what?
And that's one that hasn't moved.
There's Sprinter vans now.
Someone living there for a long
time. Yeah, Chris Farley for sure. But no, it's like the Sprinter vans now. I mean, you got these ones out there fitted by these companies that are amazing vans. I mean, they have everything you could ever want. Mm-hmm. But they're $250,000. It's more than my first house that I bought. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
and it's just going to depreciate like crazy. So yeah, no, it's hopefully in a few years. We're on like probably like a 7 to 10 year plan to get one of those at some point. Once my wife's working and 2 incomes coming in and some of the kids are out of the house. maybe we'll get there.
By the way, I wanted to bring this up because, again, I don't give a fuck, because when this drops, good luck finding me. I'm gone. Bye-bye. You lived in Tennessee. You had a nice little hunk of property on a mountain in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Do you ever regret getting rid of the mountaintop retreat in Tennessee for a subdivision in Colorado Springs, or is that kind of the background and the mountains and everything kind of make up for that playground?
Yes and no. I mean, we miss the trail. So we had a beautiful piece of property. I mean, there was a nice, probably 4-acre pond that, the kids could swim in. And we had a 2-mile trail that I could run on the property. We had races there, which were growing and would probably have been continued to grow and do really well. So we missed that. But man, living in a neighborhood has been amazing for my family. I mean, my kids specifically. We live in a neighborhood. It's crazy to think about this. Our neighborhood has over 900 homes in just this neighborhood. It's ridiculous. And on this street that I live in, my kids, both of my boys have 6 to 10 friends that they play with every day. So all summer after school, we live on a cul-de-sac. So they're in the cul-de-sac shooting basketball, playing hockey, whatever, just every day. And so they didn't have that when we lived in Tennessee, because we lived in the country. We had cows for neighbors. So in order to see,
I have to ask,
and in order to see,
let
like,
him finish. Jesus, calm down. Finish.
I'll say in order for my kids to see, like, their cousins or friends, we'd have to drive 30, 40 minutes. Here, it's just they ring the doorbell at 8:00 every morning in the summer, and they're out playing. It's great. So it's been awesome for that. And like you said, the mountains in the background. I mean, I can see Pikes Peak from my bedroom. It's amazing. So yeah, we love it.
So I think I know where you're going with this. And if you don't go where I think you're going, I'll go there. So you hit it first.
Do you have an HOA?
We do have an HOA, but it's more of an ROA, because we don't actually have, ROA, I think is the right term. Because we have an HOA, but there's no enforcement of like bylaws, unfortunately, which I honestly wish there was. Just because it's crazy. I could go on a whole diatribe of like the people that park their 4 trucks in their road instead of in their driveways, and I can't see to turn left on a road, because they need to park in their driveway. But no, yeah, we have an HOA. We have a nice pool in the community, though, that pretty much that's about what our HOA fee pays for, is the maintenance of the pool.
I thought you're going in a different direction. You asked him about an HOA. Do you think people really care if Steven has an HOA in his neighborhood or not?
Well, some folks don't like it with their kids and this, that, and the other. So I'm just.
Yeah, no, it's been great.
I brought up the Tennessee thing because I remember, Steven, this was a couple years back. This was one of the biggest crocs of shit in the sport from the last couple of years. You got in trouble. You were filming.
Oh, he's going there. He's going there.
Because I don't care. You got in trouble, Steven, because you had filmed. Jeff's getting embarrassed because he loves Laz. You got in trouble because you recorded some video at Barkley, and the whole world lost their mind. Because how dare you? Was that 2021?
2021. I think.
How dare someone film a video at a race that has 75 documentaries made about it? Oh, by the way, Jamil,
in a public state park,
is wearing a camera, and Jamil is releasing videos where books are. But that's okay.
Exactly.
But you filmed some video, and you get in some serious. You don't know the backstory. Okay,
I don't think I heard.
So I just had to say that was one of those things where I'm like, this is the most absurd thing we're living in here. Did that ever get resolved? Are you back on Laz's Christmas card list?
Oh, I'm sure I'm not. No, it's yeah. So for those that don't know, since Ryan went there, there's more stories on my YouTube channel about it. But basically, I went out to the Barkley, and I think it was 2021, and I stayed on park trails. I filmed at Rat Jaw, and then also at the old Prison Mine Trail at the middle of Rat Jaw, and then going up Arms Gap. If you know Frozen Head, you know what I'm talking about, on the gravel road. It's the only places I filmed. The second day I went out and I filmed off of Ross Gap, up where they come up from one of the books. Still on trail. I was on trail the whole time. Hung out with Courtney DeWalter's husband, hung out with so many people and talked to awesome people during the event. filmed, put my video up on YouTube. And then I think it was after Barkley was over, I got a very non-friendly message from Laz on Facebook, threatening lawsuits, literally threatening lawsuits and stuff because I didn't have his permission to film in a public park. And we had there were lawyers involved. It was ridiculous. Honestly, very ridiculous.
At one point were you like, this can't be real? Is this April Fool's? Like you checked the day, like there's been 75 documentaries made about this race, and Jamil is filming while he's running it and posting videos of book locations, and I get an email about getting sued.
Yeah. I've got my own beliefs behind all of that, but I'll keep that to myself for now. But
we were there. Were we there that year or the year after? I think it was 2021, wasn't it?
I think you were there the year after.
One of the years we were there, and I brought my recorder with me. I was shocked at how controlled the media is there, because most races it's pretty open. You bring a microphone to Western States, you can talk to anybody. You bring a microphone to Leadville, you can talk to anybody. Any race, 99.99999% of races, you can bring a microphone to talk to anybody. Nobody cares. I was so taken aback by how close the media was at the race, and how even if I'm not talking to, like, I don't care where the books are. Jeff knows where they all are anyway. I don't care. I don't want to ask people about, locations of this or locations of that or secrets here or secrets that. Just wanted to chat with some people. Yeah. But nobody would talk because I had to get permission just to say, hey, how are you doing? And I felt it was just very strange to me. And then, when you got hit with that, I was like, oh my God, this is the most absurd thing.
Well, not even like, I mean, Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, he felt the exact same way. He said he will never go back and film there again after he made that documentary because of the way that it was. It was just,
it's interesting.
Yeah. Too restrictive. So it's
well, good luck with that. You're probably not going to get any interviews from that race. That's all.
No, I don't care for that. I don't care. It's a shame too, honestly, because I used to, Jeff knows, we talked a lot. I used to be a big Barkley fan. I wanted to run Barkley. I was training at Frozen Head all the time. That was my home state park. I lived 30 minutes away. I love that park. I still love that park. And I love the Barkley, everything about it, the history. And I went there as a fan. I was so excited. I wanted to see Courtney DeWalter and Maggie come running down the trail and everybody. I was so excited. And then to have that happen was pretty disheartening.
That's why Steven moved.
So,
because he was told he had to leave. The governor of Tennessee was
that's
like,
it. You got to go. That's it.
You got to go. Laz called and he wants Steven out of the state. Now, I'm going to allow Jeff to talk for a couple minutes about how great it is so he doesn't lose his chance of getting into Barkley again, because you ran Barkley this past year. Yeah. So I don't want you to lose your opportunity to run again, because you got, how many books did you get? Pages? 9 pages. I don't want you to lose out on completing a lap next year. So do you want to like?
Well, I want to say too, like, I don't have anything negative towards Barkley. I think the Barkley is an amazing event. Like,
great
it's
race. The media is just
the feat of very strange. The feat that the athletes go through to do that is absolutely amazing, and I love that event. So I don't want anybody thinking
the following opinions that were just expressed by Steven Kornhaus
do not necessarily represent
the new host of the Adventure Jogger and the old host. Who's that guy again? Do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Jeffrey Stafford.
That's right.
Do not take this into account.
There's a disclaimer.
when you're looking at putting people in next year, do not punish Jeffrey for this. Yeah, we should have had you bring your essay. You could have read that. The essay that you wrote.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty dry.
Was it pretty dry?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got that out of the way. So that's a good story that Steven has. Good hosts.
More on YouTube.
Yes, it's on YouTube. It's fun.
He's got tons of stuff.
Steven got ran out of Tennessee over that. I mean, it's the craziest thing. He's still not allowed in the state. When he drives back, he has to go around. He has to go up to Kentucky and then go around.
That or through Alabama and Georgia. I got to pick which way I'm going to go.
Let me know when you come back through this town. We'll have to run in the park again.
Yeah, well, we're coming back in October for the No Business 100. My wife's running that again for her redemption, because she ran it in 2021, I think it was, and then she had a hip surgery, and so she's recovered, and now she's going back to try to finish it and get her first buckle, first 100 miler. So I'm going to go and crew. Hopefully I'm actually having surgery on September 9th. So hopefully I can go out there and crew her and be there to support and see everybody. I always love going to No Business. It's like going back and seeing family. I know everybody at that race basically, and it's a lot of fun.
Yet.
That's a Brian and Shelley.
You got to do that.
Brian and Shelley Gages, right? Are the ones behind No Business?
Yeah, right.
They are so incredible. And the race directors,
they put on the best races.
The race directors that I've had a chance to meet and encounter, there are some really fantastic people. And Brian and Shelley Gages are just top notch. And the area of the country, it's West South Fork area of
Big South Fork.
Big South Fork area.
I run that area, but
that is not such a beautiful area of the country that like no one knows about. You've got these beautiful delicate arches in the middle of rural Kentucky, and it's just absolutely stunning.
It's a hidden gem. It's a hidden gem. I mean, you get the Smokies get all the attention and all the traffic, which leaves Big South Fork, open for runners to not have to fight over trails with all the tourists, which is fine. But man, it is gorgeous. Like you said, there's so many beautiful arches, rock formations, caves, awesome trails. So anybody that wants to see some really cool scenery and trails, I highly recommend getting into Tennessee and seeing Big South Fork and Pickett State Park. Those are the two areas where that takes place. It also takes place in Daniel Boone National Forest in Kentucky, which is also
John
beautiful.
Harden had
it's a gorgeous course.
Stage race up there around one.
Yeah, John Harden's another guy.
That's right.
John Harden is such a genuinely wonderful, incredible human being who does these races. He doesn't do it for money. And no one does. There's some people that do it for money, and you can always tell because they're the ones that charge $300 for a 50K, and you get a Hanes Big and Beefy T-shirt and a pint glass. Those are the ones that do it for money. He does it for the love of the sport. He does it for building community, and I can't say enough good things about John Harden. He falls in with the Gageses. They're just these wonderful, incredible people.
Yeah.
Another person who I got to meet that I really liked in the Adventure Jogger interview is someone that you had some conflict with. Did you guys know?
Sherpa John?
That Jeff's been banned from all Sherpa John races.
Yeah.
I did from your episode. I did know that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let me tell you about Sherpa John. He is the most authentic person I have met in my travels on the Adventure Jogger. One of them. I won't say the most. Sherpa John is Sherpa John, and if you don't like it, he does not care. And I kind of appreciate that. I like that a lot. The fact that he just is who he is, whether you like it or not. I think there's a lot of, as the sport grows, there's a lot of people who present themselves in a way that they're not. They're this warm, huggy person, but then behind the scenes, they're something that would be completely different from that. And I think Sherpa John, there is no secrets with Sherpa John. He is exactly how you think he is. He's brash. He's trying hard. His wife's trying to get him to dial back on that stuff, but he's going to tell you how he thinks. And I kind of appreciate that. It's kind of needed in the sport nowadays.
My wife ran one of their races last year. I think it was a 50K. Maybe it might have been this year. A 50-kilometer race, and it was a lot of fun. She had a great time. Beautiful, great aid stations. I was supposed to run his 200-mile race this year, but I had to withdraw from obviously due to my injury.
Was that the one basically in the foothill areas and the lower elevation?
No, she ran the. It was down in the near the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It was in the mountains. Like it went up to I think 10,000 feet. It was a pretty good race. Like I think she was trying to run the 50-miler, and she ended up DNFing around like 26-ish miles. She hadn't acclimated to altitude yet at that time. So I think it was last year. Yeah. Beautiful course, though.
That's the one that scares me. I've always wanted to go out and do Never Summer 100K, but I have no clue how altitude is going to hit me. That's always what scared me away from mountain races.
You could have gone and done some Sherpa John races, but you had a bunch of questions, and now you're banned for life.
I was supposed to run Never Summer this year, but that's one of the 4 races I had to withdraw from this year, unfortunately. So hopefully,
I was really hoping that before I surrendered the Adventure Jogger to Steven, that I could have brought you and Sherpa John together, and maybe brought some healing to the world.
Well, if there's ever like a reunion, we'll have to have you on, Ryan, to kind of mediate that.
That whole story, and I'm like, well, Jeff, I would have banned you too. You pooped in his camper, for crying out loud. I told you not to do that.
Don't do that.
You don't poop in Sherpa John's camper. No, but he was.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool race though that he was trying to get into. The Niwats, I think it is. Niwants. Yeah, it's a pretty cool race.
So,
yeah,
that was an interesting guest.
Yeah.
I actually,
Arlen Glick seems like a great guest. Like you've enjoyed the interviews with him. Seems like
The
that'd be
Glickster.
really
yeah,
fun.
there's two. Okay, I'll go there. I wanted to keep it fun and light, but I'm going to go there. There's two people that I've interviewed and got to meet through podcasting that I can say changed my life in kind of a profound way, in a really profound way. I am someone that has, struggled with spirituality for years. Some people would say I'm a seeker. I don't even know what that means, but I grew up a Lutheran. Went to a Lutheran church. And I turned my back on my faith for a good long time. I was probably, 6-7 years that I was, just wandering with nothing, right? No faith. And that's okay. Some people don't need that, and that's fine. And I'm definitely not saying that you got to do what I did. And I'm definitely not saying that, if you don't need spirituality in your life, that you're a bad person. That's your choice. You live your life how you want to live. But so I was wandering and I wasn't happy. And there's two people. Kerry Long is one of them. I love Kerry Long deeply, like he's a brother. And he was someone he's prayed for me for years. And
that thing that come out of that boy's mouth.
I know. My God, I can never. But tell it someone who is genuine and kind and loving and just has never given up on me and has always been nicer to me than I probably deserve. And I remember saying one time, I'm like, my God, if churches were full of people like Kerry Long, what a wonderful world this would be. Because he truly, his faith is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And Arlen Glick was the same way. And I remember it was, meeting Arlen Glick, because here's the thing, like on the surface, you're like, okay, this guy, he runs and he doesn't have social media. And in some interviews, it's just the focus on running, and that's fine. Some interviews going to focus on his running.
Yeah.
But you hear, like, I remember him talking about, and we heard the story about him playing bass guitar in his family's band. His family, the fact that they give up their free time, they give up their family time, they give up their together time to shower people that society has deemed are forgettable.
They're unworthy.
With love, right? Who's unworthy? Prisoners, the elderly. We stick prisoners in prison and we say, we throw away the key. We forgot about you. We stick our elderly in nursing homes and we forget about them. And the Glick family is out there, entertaining. Arlen's an okay bass player. His brother's better, but Arlen's they came right here. They played in my kitchen, which was fantastic.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So to hear his story and just to be in his presence and then to hear what he does. I mean, the guy's gangster. I mean, him and his brothers sneaking Bibles into China. That's radical.
Awesome.
And so I can thank those two gentlemen for helping me not be lost anymore and be in a really good spot. And so I'm really in a great spot. It's because Kerry Long never gave up on me. And if this podcast gave me nothing, it gave me Kerry Long, which is more than enough. And so more stories like that. And Arlen Glick.
That's awesome.
Been such an inspiration as well. So.
Yeah. I've actually met Arlen. He was out here in the Springs last year training 2 weekends before he ran Run Rabbit Run. And I was on a trail run and I see this guy coming towards me. I'm like, that looks like Arlen Glick. And as we get closer, we both stop. We both recognize each other. He recognized me from YouTube, and I recognized him from running. I don't know how he recognized me from YouTube. He doesn't have social, but no. We stopped and talked on the trail for a few minutes. It's just super awesome, nice guy. I mean, just like you said, genuine in person. Who he was, like he doesn't put on a show to try to be on.
And totally Arlen. Yeah,
and it was awesome.
He's not engrossed with social. I don't want to say he gets on, but if someone tells him about, hey, I saw your interview on blah, 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 and here, take a look, here it is. And, and he'll see that type of stuff.
By the way, which one of you assholes ruined the guitar? We had a secret going, and then Arlen found out about it at a race when someone said, "Hey, did you hear about that guitar they're building for you?"
Oh,
complete secret.
That's crazy. Yeah,
I'm kidding.
That's
kidding.
crazy.
It was all. But no, he's really good. I tried to get Jeff to watch some of your YouTube videos, but when I came to his house, he kept turning the dial on his television, and he couldn't find a channel called YouTube.
The rabbit ears weren't working.
They weren't working.
Ryan, get the foil. Get the foil.
Right, exactly. He got these balls of foil on these rabbit ears, and he's like, "Why can't I pick up Steven on this
damn thing? Kick
YouTube TV? What channel is that, Ryan? It's YouTube. I can't find it." But yeah, you're right. He's absolutely incredible, and it's been good.
I've actually, like, Arlen and I have or something in common that probably no one in the YouTube space knows. I've never actually shared this before. There's a YouTube, an exclusive Adventure Jogger exclusive. So I actually grew up Mennonite. We were in Florida and grew up Mennonite, moved to North Carolina. We were Mennonite, went to a Mennonite church and helped build the church there. And we weren't the type like where my mom didn't wear a head covering. We were more New Order Mennonite. But yeah, I was Mennonite till probably till I was, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, something like in that age. My parents were. So
do they have, I know with the Amish,
interesting.
They have Rumspringa, where the young people get to leave the church and be wild for, is there a version of that in the Mennonite church that's like Rumspringa light? No.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, because I guess it depends on what type of Mennonite you are, because there are the very strict Mennonite where it's very.
So
close
I'm excited
to
for you to have Arlen on, so you can make Mennonite jokes. It just be Mennonite jokes back and forth.
Yeah, I hope that.
He's made a couple on the podcast. I'm just saying he can make those Mennonite jokes. I can't.
I know.
Make those jokes back and forth, but. I'm so excited, Steven, for you.
You're gonna have a good time.
It's gonna be great. I'm excited to be a listener. I'm excited to for the first episode to hear the theme music and to hear a different voice and to hear where you take this thing. I'm just so excited for you, and I'm just can't wait to see where you take it.
Well, I told you, I shared the intro with you to see what you thought of it, and it was weird for me to hear my name on it. I'm sure for you it was very weird to hear somebody else's name. But no, I'm just so excited for the opportunity to carry this on, and just hope I can do as good of a job as you've done over the years. It's honestly, you've done a great job with it, built an amazing brand, and I want to continue and just kind of, carry the torch. Like I said before, hopefully I can and do as well. I'm gonna give it my best. So I just appreciate the opportunity, Ryan. You trusting me with it. It really does mean a lot. So seriously,
it'd be great. And Jeff,
get after it.
The girls, we found an old iPod. And I'm going to download every episode of the Adventure Jogger and give you the iPod so you can listen and catch up.
Right.
And then when Steven's episodes come out, you'll be able to listen to Steven's on the iPod.
Be in a nursing home
then. No, we should have an episode out next week.
You could be in the nursing home next week.
You never know.
You never know.
That's true.
I might be calling you to change my diaper.
It may. No, I've made plenty of jokes.
Just don't poop in the camper.
I've made plenty of jokes at your expense, Jeff, over the years, but you have been a dear friend and a family member, more than a friend. And thank you for coming over to my house every once in a while and drinking my good stuff.
Yeah.
And jibber jabbering with people. So, again, you live 15 minutes from me, so I'll be seeing you plenty. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, you guys got to run together so people can keep thinking you're his son.
Two good-looking dudes. One looks younger than the other. You have 2 classic cars. You're just about finished.
Yes, thank God.
He's got a Mercury Meteor.
I've seen the pictures on Facebook that you've shared.
I should
looking good.
I should do a YouTube channel.
That would be huge if you had documented the whole thing. That would have been awesome.
You better make that stuff up now.
Ooh, well, I actually have a ton of pictures and video.
Who'd you send these videos to? This is why you can't get dates, because you're showing videos of you welding.
No, I keep them for.
That'd be great.
If I were to ever sell the car and someone goes, "What'd you do to it?" Well, let me tell you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Exactly what I
got the documentation.
So I think we'll just wrap it up. I think again, Steven, it's all yours. If you just would indulge me a second, I'd like to say one more thing, and then we'll wrap this thing up, and then the Adventure Jogger. Steven, is yours. I'll turn the keys over to you. So I'm again excited, and best of luck to you. And I'll be listening. I know Jeff will be listening once he figures out how that iPod Touch works. and we'll get those episodes. But to everyone who's listened to this podcast, thank you for taking me along with you on some miles. The fact that, podcasting's weird. It's not like a radio where you just dial in and you can listen if you want to. The fact that there's a barrier of entry. You have to go seek this thing out. You have to actively download it. You have to, subscribe. And then when you wake up in the morning for your run, you have to say, oh, I'm going to take Ryan along with me on this run. That means so much. It means more than I can ever express. And thank you for years and years and years. Thank you for allowing me to start a new podcast. Thank you for coming back episode after episode after episode and allowing me to run some miles with you. It means so much. To every one of my guests, thank you for sharing your story with me. Thank you for being a star. Thank you for making me look far more competent than I actually am. Your great stories have entertained people over nearly 300 episodes. And without you, no one would listen to me talk for 300 episodes. No one. You have been stars. To the friends that I've made out of this podcast, and I've mentioned a few, I found some really fantastic people that have changed my life in so many ways. Changed the way I think about things, changed the way I act, have made me a better person, a better father, a better husband, a better runner. Thank you so much to you, the guests. And thank you, Steven, for not wasting that GoDaddy account that I paid for a year in advance, quitting 2 months after I just paid for a year, but many miles ahead. And I hope you enjoy those miles, and I hope you accomplish great and wonderful things. And I hope you listen to Steven, host the Adventure Jogger, for crying out loud. Thank you so much, everybody, for all these great years. Goodbye.